Joining us to talk about so many different things. A lot of stuff about China has come out since last time we spoke to this gentleman. Kyle Bass, founder of Hayman Capital Management. Kyle, it's good to see you. Where are you? I know that this is something you want to highlight. Are you in a business?
I am. I'm in a 100-year-old building in Athens, Texas, in a cafe by the name of Cherry Laurel Cafe. It's run by a couple of very nice ladies that we've known in our family for many years. And this cafe is set to reopen this Saturday, as per the governor's orders in Texas, allowing businesses to begin to reopen.
So, are you there for a reason? Comment on how we're going to reopen the country, and are we going to go too fast? Are we going to go too slow? Should we have such a division based on party lines on how we do this?
I mean, clearly, this is a nonpartisan argument for our country. So, the fact that anyone's playing partisan politics, deciding how to handle the health and welfare of our country is a bit silly. I think, look, from my perspective, when you get into the service economy, you get into restaurants, you get into any of the airlines or things like that. I don't believe people are going to immediately go back to where we once were. I think it's going to take a lot of time. And just for instance, this little cafe has been instructed to open with 8 feet of distance between tables, and it's not that big, so you won't have many tables in here. But I think that 25% of capacity, 8 feet between tables. And when you think about you and your family, we all know that the virus is still here. The virus is still going to be here until we get to some point where we have drugs that actually are efficacious against this insidious virus. And at some point in time, hopefully, we get to a vaccine. As you know, there are many viruses out there that don't have vaccines. And this virus carries some of the properties of those that can't be immunized against.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping that does happen. So I think last time you were on, we were in the throes of really the most disconcerting time in this crisis. And you actually broached the possibility of closing down the stock market for a while until things were in better shape. And I'm really glad we didn't. But I'm ready to close it down now, Kyle. Now that we've gained about 35, 40, whatever it is, now that we've bounced back, now I'm worried we retest the low. So now I think but think if we had done that back then, we would not feel nearly as, hopeful if we had closed it down. Are you surprised that we've had this bounce?
I'm surprised. I'm surprised at the size of the bounce. When you look at our economy and the fact that we have, as Steve was just talking about, 20% unemployment, and in the center of the fairway of where we think it'll be by the end of the year, in a perfect world, maybe we'll be back to 7 to 10% unemployment, right. And maybe we're going to see permanent wards of the state. Look, the Fed has come in and done everything that it possibly could, and then some. I mean, look, the Fed's buying junk bonds, the Fed's buying CLOs, the Fed's buying everything but equities, and they're taking a page out of the BOJ's, playbook, because the BOJ in Japan today owns more than 75% of every listed ETF in Japan. The BOJ is a top 5 holder of the 10 largest companies in Japan. At some point in time, let's hope the Fed doesn't get there, but with a balance sheet moving from, call it, $3.5 trillion to somewhere between 8 and 11 trillion, let's say 9 or 10, the Fed has gone full tilt on this one.
You're a China hawk too, Kyle, and we've talked about that a lot in the past. Do you foresee a smooth transition for our country to not having supply chains and so many that we're dependent on so many different things from China? Is that something that we can actually do, and something that makes you happy that we're going to try and do at this point?
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, there are many things that we did right in protecting the national security of our country. For instance, we never let chip manufacturers get acquired by the Chinese government or Chinese quote private enterprises. But one thing we did kind of allow the frog to boil slowly was we allowed our generic and prescription medicines to be manufactured in China. And I think, again, that was a big national security slip. And I think we're gonna reverse those things. But I think the bigger picture is this isn't just a power grab. This is an ideological competition between kind of Marxist socialist, Marxist-Leninist socialism and democracies. And if you look at the Chinese, quote, media or propaganda outlets in the last few weeks, they are stressing, even this morning, some of the Chinese tabloids are stressing that their system's better than ours and that they have it, let's just say, figured out better than Western democracy does. And I think that we give China entirely too much credit. We on CNBC, we in the financial community just accept the fact that they say they're the world's second largest economy. We must remember that the 800-pound gorilla in the room is China has a closed capital account. They're a bit of a Potemkin village. I'm not going to argue that they don't have a large economy, but less than 1% of the world's global transactions that are cross-border settle in the Chinese currency, and they purport to be 15% of global GDP because we happily convert their RMB-based GDP into dollars, but they don't have any dollars. They don't have enough dollars to open their capital account. If they did, their currency would drop, I think, 40 or 50%, and their economy wouldn't be the second largest economy. It would be a large economy. But the Achilles heel to China is the fact that they have an insatiable need for dollars so that they can transact in the rest of the world. They are not as strong as they think they are.
Potemkin village. So it's just it's all. I'm going to start using that. It's all a facade. It just looks good, right?
I just think it's important that they've projected this narrative of strength, and we all buy it. And what they do by basically getting Wall Street financiers to buy in is they give us special access. They give BlackRock special access, right? They give Ray Dalio special access. Those people become evangelical about the greatness of China. And when you realize that there are U.S. businesses that have been trying to get their profits out of China since Q4 2016, and they haven't been able to get their money out because China won't let the dollars out. So what do these businesses do? They hire lobbyists in the U.S. to go lobby people that know Wang Qishan and Xi Jinping and the rest of these people, and they can't get their money out. So I worry that all the money that's flying into China through the MSCI and through institutional investment, I just worry that it won't be able to come out.
Hey, Kyle, thanks for throwing it, Joe. Kyle, question for you, which is you were talking about the location you're in. With the social distancing in place and the reopen, does it work? Meaning, does the model work?
You know, I think that I think you will see. Americans aren't used to being, let's say, sequestered in their homes. I think we all have some sort of cabin fever going on after being locked up for a couple of months. I think we've all enjoyed being with our families a little bit more. It's been found time for those of us that have teenagers. But I think people are ready to start going back. I just worry that, the reason why we decided to go under these strict stay-at-home orders was just so that hospital beds in the U.S. Wouldn't be overwhelmed, ICUs wouldn't be overwhelmed, and that we wouldn't run out of ventilators. So we've done this flattening the curve, and here we are just kind of getting stir crazy and ready to go back to work and go back to business. And it's such a difficult question to answer for the governors or for the president to decide. Right. Well, if we go back now, Kyle, the curve may not flatten. So I think it'll start working. Right. But I also think
Kyle,
I hope that this just doesn't come back.
Kyle, I'm asking a different question. I apologize. I'm asking you a different question. The question I'm asking you is the shop that you're in today. If social distancing is required by health experts, forget about whether people want to come. The human spirit, we all want to go there. We all want to get ice cream and cake and everything else. But if health experts and the government effectively restrict shops like this from having more than 25 or 50% of the total customer base in the store at any one time, or if the department stores have to space everybody out, or however it's going to get done. My question to you is that store right there, given that I assume they have to pay rent to somebody, they have employees they have to pay, does the economic model for them even work? That's the
not
question.
at 25.
Because
not
if it
at
doesn't work
25%
and this goes on for any period of time, then you have a different problem, which is to say you can get people back to work temporarily until you can't.
Yeah, it's a good point. At 25% capacity, it doesn't work. At 50% capacity, many of the restaurants and businesses like this don't work. It's just I think it's a bridge to the future, and hopefully the idea is that we can get back to some sense of normalcy. Unfortunately, that might not work because the virus is still going to be around until we figure out some way to find some drugs that are efficacious against it or vaccinate against it. Let's hope the Oxford researchers are right, because it won't work at this level.